We're in fourth grade. Last week we finished the first unit in our reading book. We're on to unit 2. Every new unit has a little introductory page. Our introductory page is on page 88 of your small book. It includes 3 little poems. I'd like to read them to you. They're kind of funny. Sorry, the unit's entitled Amazing Animals. A mouse in her room woke Mrs. Dowd. She was frightened and screamed very loud. Then a happy thought hit her to scare off the critter. She sat up in bed and meowed. Meow. Now, if we watch a lot of Tom and Jerry shows, we know that mice are afraid of cats. And so she meowed like a cat, scared off the mouse. Okay, number 2. There was a young lady of Niger who smiled as she rode on a tiger. So picture her riding on this tiger. They returned from the ride with the lady inside and a smile on the face of the tiger. So the lady was all smiling. She's riding the tiger. They went out for a ride, and when they came back, the tiger had eaten her. Okay, that's kind of scary and gross, but it was a poem, and obviously you don't want to ride on the back of a tiger. Amazing Animals. There was an old man with a beard who said, "It is just as I feared. 2 owls, a hen, 4 larks, and a wren have all built their nests in my beard." Now that would have to be the most enormous beard you have ever seen in your entire life, to have birds building their nests in there. But again, just kind of a strange poem. Well, our big idea for this whole unit, the next 5 weeks, is what can animals teach us? If you turn the page, you see this amazing picture of this squirrel. Squirrels are awesome to watch. They are very fun. You can see squirrels walking on a little line right outside of our window here at Garden Homes. They walk up and down the telephone poles and walk from line to line, from pole to pole. And a lot of times you'll see them with nuts in their mouth. Sometimes it'll be with little pieces of bagel or something that they got out of the garbage cans. Here he's put his head all the way down into a glass jar to get a peanut out of there. It says, look at the photograph. If you wrote a story about that squirrel, we're going to do that today. Write a story about that squirrel. What words would you use to describe him? To be very descriptive. Is he brave? Is he greedy? Is he clever? Is he foolish? And then here's the key question. What would the message of the story be? What are some animal stories that you know that teach a lesson? Have you ever heard the story of the 3 little pigs? Yeah, the 3 little pigs. Well, mom sends them off to go on their way. Go make this world your own. And so the first one is kind of lazy. Makes his house of hay, and the big bad wolf blows it over. And the next one sticks. And that story has a point. The point is, it might take a lot of hard work and it might take a lot of time, but if you build your house really strong, it will withstand the dangers of this world. So we know a lot of animal stories, and hopefully this week I'll get to teach you a few more. If you turn the page, we get to our vocabulary page. It's page 92 and 93. We got the vocabulary words, definitions, and pictures on the board, as well as in your book with some sentences to help you. The first one is attracted. The brightly colored flowers attracted the butterflies. As you work in science and you start learning about pollination, we know that we need bees, bats, and butterflies to pollinate flowers. And, well, we need to attract them. What does attract mean? It means to draw the attention of. The beautiful bright colors of the flowers attracts these different bugs to the flowers, and they go there for the sweet nectar in the flowers, and then they spread the pollen so that we can have flowers the next year. Number 2, dazzling. It was kind of sad this year that we didn't have fireworks, but if you watched on Fox 6 News, they actually played last year's fireworks on the TV, so you got to see some if you watched there. But fireworks are dazzling. It says the fireworks in the night sky were bright and dazzling. The definition of dazzling is so bright that it's almost blinding. There's a Bible story where Jesus was dazzling. That was on the Mount of Transfiguration. We'll get into it later in the year. Peter, James, and John went up with him, and Jesus actually was shown in all of his glory. It was so bright the disciples had to cover their faces and hit the deck. Dazzling, so bright it's almost blinding. The girl's towel and clothes were made of fabric. Now, all of our clothing is made of what's called fabric. Fabric is material that is woven or knitted, such as clothing. So we take these pieces of strings and we put them together, and now we have fabric. It asks the question, what else can we make of fabric? I think like our quilts on our beds are made of fabric. If you have certain kinds of tents, sometimes tents are made of this fabric. We use fabric in a lot of things. The fourth one, greed. It was greed that caused the boys to grab more cookies than they needed. Look at them. That looks like me after a hard day at school. Let's get home and have a treat. Sometimes if there's cookies in the house, I'll be digging for the cookies. I love dunking them in milk, just like it looks like this boy is going to do. Now, even though it looks like a very happy and fun picture, greed actually has a negative connotation to it. Let's take a look at it. A very great and selfish desire to have or get something. Okay, it's great to have some cookies, but if I want all the cookies and you don't get any, that's kind of selfish. Honest, our fifth one, top of page 93 if you're in your books. Leo was honest and told his mother the truth about the broken window. It doesn't tell us how he broke the window, but he broke the window. And the window we see in the back doesn't look broken, so it must have been a different one. Mom, of course, is happy, not because she has a broken window, but because her son told the truth. What does it mean to be honest? It means to be truthful. So a synonym for honest is truthful, fair, or trustworthy. Requested. The customer requested service from the waiter. You see he's got his finger up there in the picture. Excuse me, ma'am, could we please have some Grey Poupon? That's an old commercial, sorry. It's kind of dating me, but a Grey Poupon was a fancy mustard that they were trying to sell, and so there was always these people, may I please have some Grey Poupon? Requested just means to ask for, a real fancy word for ask. If I have a request, I would request that you would pack your folders back up nice and neat so that you don't lose any of your papers. I'm just asking. So that's what a request is. There's a bird there in this picture, and the word is soared, ed, past tense. We're going to have a sentence that said in the past. The seagull soared upward high over the ocean. We're actually going to have a bird in our first folktale today in our second video. Soared. What's the definition of soared? It means flew very, very, very high in the air. And a lot of these birds that can soar, if you see them up there, they're flying without flapping their wings. Some of these birds that can soar, they use the winds up there, and they can fly around circles and circles and circles and get higher and lower just by their wings gliding in the air. And the last one, trudged. Sometimes when my backpack is full, I feel like this when I come up the steps to school and I don't get to see any kids. I kind of trudge. And trudge means to walk steadily and slowly. And these guys, these hikers, they were tired, and the hikers trudged slowly up the path. Today's genre is a folktale. We'll talk more about a folktale in tomorrow's lesson, but get excited. It's going to be a story about an animal, and it's going to teach us a lesson. Stay tuned.